Hi guys, it's ArchieLuxury here and welcome to the ArchieLuxury channel. Today guys, I want to discuss 5 things to extend the life of your BMW. For those of you who don't know, I have a 2021 BMW 330i M Sport. I recently visited a BMW dealer who told me to go back to making shitty YouTube videos, and here I am cranking out the shit. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for the inspiration, Tim. Today's video is 5 things to extend the life of your BMW. Now, why have I made this video? And it's easy. I have had my BMW for 2 years, 3 months. I went into a BMW dealer and thought, hey, I wouldn't mind knowing what is my car worth. And I've lost 48.14% in 2 years, 3 months. Thank you, BMW. Depreciation, it's a bitch. So I'm making this video. I need to extend the life of my BMW. What do I recommend? Now, I have spoken to mechanics. I have scoured the interweb looking for hundreds of videos, and I got 5 points to extend the life of your BMW. First point is to never ever fucking use the stop-start technology. What is the stop-start technology? The stop-start technology is the technology that when you pull up at traffic lights, it will turn the engine off. Now, the whole idea of this is to save fuel. Well, guess what, fuckheads? Fuel is cheap. Fuel is cheap. Engines are expensive. That's right. Now, the big problem with turning the engine off at the traffic lights and starting it up again, the big problem is oil starvation. That's right, oil starvation. By keeping the engine running, we're keeping the oil running. The oil keeps it lubricated. It stops wear and tear. Now, this should be pretty logical, but car makers, in their quest to get the best fuel figures for their stickers, their law has mandated that you can't permanently turn this shit off. So every time you get into a BMW, you need to turn that shit off unless you're running it in sports mode. Sports mode, which I actually do like running my BMW in sports mode with the fake sound. So the first thing I got to tell you is if you have a BMW, you want to extend the life of it, do not use that stop-start technology. The other reason why, particularly in a BMW, it's a shitty idea is most of the new BMWs, well, pretty well, all of them are turbocharged. Now, one thing about turbos, they like to be lubricated. Okay, they like to be lubricated. If they don't lubricate, they get hot. They disintegrate. So I don't know if you guys can remember the 80s, but I remember when turbos first came out. I remember a guy had a Starion, Mitsubishi Starion, and you needed a turbo lock. When you actually stopped the car would run for a minute or two to cool the car down, circulate the oil, and keep the car. Now, if you are constantly turning it off and on, guess what? You're asking for trouble. Not to mention alternator wear and battery wear. It is a stupid idea. For the amount of money you save by being more fuel efficient, you are putting a lot of wear and tear and causing possible oil starvation. I mean, like, I honestly, I wish you could turn that shit off permanently, but you have to turn it off every time. Now, this rule, I got to be honest with you, even if the car is a non-turbo, I would, especially with a high performance, high output engine like a BMW, do not use that shit. So stop start technology, you want to extend the life, do not use the stop start. Every time you hop in, turn that shit off. The second thing you need to do to extend the life of your BMW, and this also applies to all cars, change the oil and filter as a minimum 10,000 kilometers. 10,000 kilometers. Now, the problem is with BMW, they like to extend the intervals, the service intervals. It sounds good. Oh, it only needs to be serviced once a year. Now, the problem is my BMW itself, it says the oil and filter doesn't need to be changed. It doesn't need to be changed until you do 25,000 kilometers. Now, that's okay whilst it's under warranty, but if you want to extend the life of this bloody engine, you know, the cheapest thing you can do for an engine is change the oil and filters. That's right. And the filter, there's nothing worse than keeping the old filter. You're running it through a cloggy filter. If you're going to change the oil, change the filter. So 10,000 kilometers, which is 6,200 miles. That's when you should change. That's when you should change the oil and filter. Believe you me, the engine will love you for it. It will really appreciate it. See, the engine is dependent on the fuel and the oil. The oil is so important to keep it going. It keeps it lubricated. Believe you me, the oil and filter, change it every 10,000 kilometers and you will really, the car will love you. Now, the interesting thing I do is, because I've got a service pack, the BMW dealers, they will only do what the computer says. They won't do the extras. So guess what? I get the oil and filter changed from a BMW independent and don't reset the computer, because I'll get the dealer to change the oil prematurely. That doesn't hurt. So if I change the oil after 4,000 kilometers occasionally, I'd rather do it. It's never hurts to do that. So change the oil and filter every 10,000 kilometers, which is 6,200 miles. Now, the next thing, the third thing to extend the life of the car. Say you've driven like a maniac, and then it's easy. You put it in sports mode and you have a bit of fun. When you have come back from a bit of aggressive, I don't think it's bad necessarily, a bit of aggressive driving, the best thing you can do is let the car run for a minute, at least a minute. Let it idle for a minute before you turn it off. And what does that do? Well, by letting it idle, you are the oil is still flowing through. It cools the car down. It also lets air, the engine management lets the air come through. It cools the engine down. It stops oil starvation. It stops it getting really hot, because when you turn it off, all the cooling system turns off. So it acquires the heat. So if you've had a bit of aggressive, fun driving, let the bastard cool down a bit before you turn the car off. That can apply to any car. The fourth point also applies to any car, and that is to warm the car up. There's nothing worse than turning the car on, driving fast and aggressively straight away. Now, I'm a bit of an old age stickler. I like to run it for 30 seconds to a minute, but you technically don't really have to do that. But I like to, just to be extra kind to my car, because it's depreciated so badly. I like to let it run and then don't do aggressive driving until you are at temperature. Okay, so basically you wouldn't want to change high in the rev range. You'd want to be very cool. You want to be very compassionate and kind to the engine. No aggressive takeoffs. No, so you'd let the car warm up. It doesn't take long, literally a couple minutes, and the car is warmed up. Personally, I like to let the car warm up for a minute or two before I drive. So that's 4 points. And what is the fifth point? The fifth point to extend the life of your BMW, and this applies to any car, it's to check the oil level. It's a good idea to check your oil level once a week. And what I mean by that is, now in the BMW, unfortunately, it doesn't have a dipstick. No, the dipstick is behind the steering wheel. You have to do it electronically, but it's a good idea to keep an eye on the oil. I also, in the trunk, the boot, I keep 2 bottles of BMW oil as a backup. I can put a bit more oil in the car. That's right. I can put a bit of oil, if necessary, into the vehicle. So, you know, I don't mind adding a bit of oil to the car if necessary. If it needs a bit of oil, we can easily put some oil in. So guys, those 5 points will really extend the life of your BMW. Let's go through them. Do not ever use the stop-start technology. Change your oil and filters every 10,000 or 6,000 miles. Let the car cool down, because it's a turbo. After some fast driving and you want to turn it off, just give it a minute to cool down. Let the car warm up before you do aggressive driving. And finally, check your oil. And also, always keep a bit of an eye on the temperature gauge. If the temperature creeps up, we may have some problems. Remember, if you can forecast these things before it goes into the red zone, you will save the engine, save a lot of money. And sometimes a hose goes, a pipe goes. Well, just be aware of these things and just look out for puddles or leaks, because it can happen, and it's better to grab the bull by the horns. Guys, these are 5 tips to extend the life. I need to extend the life because the depreciation has bitten hard. It's bitten hard. I got to get 10 years out of this baby. I got to get 10 years out of this baby. And hopefully these tips will help you get more life out of your BMW. I'm ArchieLuxury. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see you in the next one. Great vid, Arch. Thank you, Tim. More shitty videos on the way.